Brian Bridge, Lisa Owen, Radio Live Drive.
The government is being urged to refuse entry to New Zealand to a far-right Canadian speaker planning to come here. Lauren Southern was banned from entering the United Kingdom after displaying flyers reading "Allah is a gay god" and "Allah is trans." She hates feminists, loathes Islam, and is worried about the rise of mass immigration and multiculturalism. This is Lauren confronting anti-rape feminist protesters in the UK.
So I think you need to look into your religion a little more.
Please do not tell me what I, as a young Muslim woman of colour, need to do about my faith.
I don't care what I don't care what colour you are. I don't care what gender you are. We're talking facts right now.
So would you be asking this to a white Muslim woman as well?
Absolutely.
We spoke to Lauren shortly before coming on air this afternoon and began by asking why she's here.
What am I doing there? Well, I'm not there quite yet, but when I do make the long flight over, I plan on addressing all of the problems that have infected most of the Western world of progressivism, anti-free speech rhetoric, mass immigration, and cultural Marxism within our cultures.
Mass immigration is not a huge problem here. Are you sure that these issues are going to resonate with the New Zealand audience?
Right. Mass immigration isn't a huge issue there. Yes, it's certainly something that wasn't a huge issue in Canada or even America 50 years ago, but I believe that over the years, people have begun to vote with their feet. The best countries in the world, the ones that have not been inundated with communism, inundated with these kind of third world backwards beliefs like radical Islamism. People are fleeing these countries to Western nations, and it starts with Europe right now, where you have France, where some neighborhoods are barely even recognizable, where you have no-go zones. They're coming over to Canada. They're coming over to America. They've tried to come to Australia, but luckily there is a strong government there that are turning back the boats. And I don't doubt New Zealand will face these problems in the future as well. We speak about the issue of immigration and we say, oh, it's not a problem yet. Right now it's working. But we don't think on the longer, bigger scale of 100 years from now. I don't believe my kids in BC, Canada, will be speaking English 100 years from now. They may very well be speaking Chinese, and that's not to mention more violent immigration that you're seeing in Europe. We need to have these big discussions of will we preserve Western culture or will we allow our borders to be open to the world?
And what's wrong if they are speaking Chinese or Arabic or some other language besides English?
What's wrong if my kids are speaking Chinese or Arabic in an English-speaking language? If there is no identity to your nation state, if you don't have a national language, if you don't have a national culture, what is the point of having a country? Why not open our borders and become part of Egypt? Why not become part of China? What is the point of having a nation if there are not factors that identify you and make you different than others?
Arguably that's been happening, well, it has been happening for centuries, for thousands, hundreds of years. You know, people have been colonizing countries, have been colonizing cultures, and the world changes. That's just kind of how it works.
Yes, but we know sometimes it changes for the better or the worse. And it's so funny to me. It is so hilarious that you have people comparing, people coming in through the Mexican border, for example. They say, or people coming in on boats, and they say, well, the people who created America, the European settlers, they came over on boats as well, and they genocided the natives and destroyed their culture. Well, why would we want that to happen to us? Why would we want our culture destroyed? And especially to compare people fleeing countries that have been destroyed to European settlers who built up civilizations and built up cultures and governments and functioning political systems is hilariously incomparable.
You mentioned the fact that you think Australia has a strong government. What about New Zealand?
New Zealand, honestly, I have to look into New Zealand a little more. You guys are not quite so prolific in the map of Western cultural political debate, but I assure you I will be doing just that before I come over. But I don't doubt you have the exact same social media I do. You guys are on Facebook, you're on Snapchat, you're on Instagram. You are getting inundated with this garbage progressive messaging from Vox, from Vice, from all over the world that is telling you feminism is good, open borders is good, having transgender 5-year-olds is such a beautiful and progressive thing. These are not good things, and we will tell you exactly why these things will ruin your culture and ruin your countries when Sven Molyneux and I come to do a tour there.
Lauren, if you had to sum up what your message is, what is it in a couple of lines? Can you just explain what you were trying to educate us about in a nutshell?
The biggest thing that I want to bring forward in my speech is, first of all, the defense of free speech. I know that is an issue there. I know there are people that are going to be protesting. There are people that are asking for me to be banned. So that tells me right away New Zealand has a problem with the progressive anti-free speech bug. So we want to talk about why.
Isn't that free speech to allow them to express their views, whether they agree with you or not? So protest is free speech.
Yes, I do not deny their free speech protest. I'm talking about the people who are calling to have me banned, the Islamic community that have created a petition and said, oh, we don't think free speech includes the right to offend us or to include criticism. Well, you came to the wrong culture. Western culture does support free speech, and that means free speech to criticize all religions, including Islam. And that's really why you need to have a discussion there and a conversation about what cultures do you want there? Do you want cultures that are going to bring back blasphemy laws like we saw historically in Europe? Do you want cultures that are going to be stoning people for the crime of being raped?
So do you think
that must be answered?
Do you think we need to be asking ourselves whether we should have Muslims in this country because they might take over and bring in laws to stone people?
I think that every nation should be asking what culture they actually want to have. I think every nation should be asking themselves what their identity and what their values are. And we must remember that politics is downstream of culture. The only reason we have countries that support free speech and aren't stoning women for the crime of being raped, the only reason we have countries that support more liberal laws is because we have a majority populace right now that support those things. It is a fact that if your demographics change to a point past 50% of people who disagree with Western culture, that culture will change. And if those people happen to believe in Sharia law, or it could be some other group with other illiberal values, yes, that is what will happen to your culture. This is not my opinion. This is a fact.
Get the insights you need and the news you need to know. Ryan Bridge, Lisa Owen, Radio Live Drive. Powered by News Hub, New Zealand's #1 source of news.
It is 22 after 3 on Radio Live Drive with Ryan and Lisa. Well, Lauren Southern is an alt-right commentator from Canada, and she's coming here to speak to her Kiwi fans. She has strong views. She'll speak when she's here about the risks of multiculturalism, why Islam is ruining Western societies in her view, and why feminism is, well, just like cancer. She doesn't like Islam's view of women, so does that make her a feminist?
No, I'm not a feminist. The word feminist does not mean what people say it means because it has changed in our culture as words do. Feminism is now applied to a group of people who do not believe in equal rights. They believe quite the opposite. They believe in the nonsensical wage gap argument that there is some sort of gap in pay between men and women simply because women are female, not because they work different hours. They tend to choose less difficult jobs. They tend to go into the social sciences. They completely ignore statistics. And also, the idea that women and men are equal, I think, is a lie biologically. Women and men, I think, are of equal, they should be of equal value under the law. But to say that a woman and a man are the exact same in strength, in biology, even in personality traits, is quite frankly untrue. And if we continue to ignore these scientific facts simply to not offend this group of people calling themselves feminists today, we will continue to ignore the problems that face women in this day and age, the problems with growing depression, the problems they have in the career, in the workplace, the problems they have in relationships in this day and age. We cannot address these issues if we do not recognize the biological differences between men and women and the psychological differences. And that is my main problem with modern feminists.
Sorry, so just to see if I've got you right, feminism is causing depression in the modern woman.
Oh, absolutely. I believe feminism is causing massive issues in women. We are being told that we are the exact same as men. Imagine how a woman would feel going in and playing in a men's soccer league and continuing to fail to compete and work at the same level as these men and continuing to fail despite being told she is exactly the same. It's because she has been told a lie. She is not the exact same. She has things that are extremely valuable that men can't do. Men cannot give birth. Men cannot create life the same way women can. And that is a beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing. And this degradation and almost shaming of femininity amongst the feminist community is very psychologically damaging to women. We are different. We have different roles in life, I believe. We should be free and equal to pursue the same things as men, but to say we are the exact same and can even compete at the same level is a lie.
Do you believe everything that you are saying and that you do say in your public addresses, or is part of this attracting an audience and creating a commercial entity?
I actually would much rather be in the background without any public face. The only reason that I ended up as a quote-unquote public figure is because feminism was quite bothersome during university, continually being told lies to appease the kind of ridiculous notions of these social justice elites within my university frustrated me to the point of making a video on it and wanting to tell the truth. And I've done just that since I made my first viral videos on feminism. I have continued to tell the truth. Truths that other people are not willing to admit, or other people are too afraid of being fired from their jobs, excommunicated from their societies, truths that the world is not willing to acknowledge right now. And I will continue to do so until these become normalized and until it's acceptable to say these truths. And once it is perfectly acceptable and we all have our free speech and we can all speak what is the truth, then I would be happy to be out of the public eye. This is not a spectacle. This is not a performance. That Stefan and I will be coming to tell people what they need to hear and what the government does not want them to hear, what the establishment does not want them to hear, and what the media does not want them to hear.
How many countries have you been banned from?
Just one right now.
The UK?
The United Kingdom, yes.
So do you actually think that our government doesn't want you to speak to New Zealanders?
I guess we'll see about that.
Lauren, you mentioned that women and men both have different abilities and potentially different roles in life. How do you see your role in life as a woman?
Well, my hopes is to be a mother one day and to be a caretaker. And I believe that women, of course, we're talking about on average here. Women on average are happier in homemaker roles. This is a fact. This is not my opinion. They're happier. Statistically, the job that makes women the happiest is being a stay-at-home mother.
How can you say that, Lauren? I'm sorry, what statistical information do you have to back that up, in particular about New Zealand women?
Particularly about New Zealand women?
Yeah, I mean, how do you know statistically that women are happier?
You can read it in the book, Becoming a Part of America.
But for New Zealand women, are you saying that we are happier? There is some scientific evidence that we're happier if we stay at home with our kids and
if they're more in more traditional roles. Actually, fascinating thing, you bring up New Zealand women. There was a study that was conducted in New Zealand with New Zealand women that found women and men are more sexually satisfied in relationships where women do the more feminine chores and men do the more masculine chores. So taking out the garbage, repairing the car, and where women tend to cook dinner and take care of the kids. That actually improves sexual life amongst men and women. That study was, in fact, done in your home country, New Zealand.
So if I couldn't cook, you'd find me more sexy?
If you couldn't cook, I'd find you more sexy. Maybe. Of course, we're talking on average. But I do like a man that can repair a car, and I do like a man who takes out the garbage.
Lauren Southern, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck with getting to New Zealand. There is a petition online, as you know, to ban you from coming here. So maybe we'll see you, maybe we won't.
I sure hope so. I'll see you soon.
That was Lauren Southern. She's an alt-right commentator from Canada. She's very outspoken, as you probably heard there.